Hi guys and girls, Emma again, welcome back to the spare room. Today's project's a pattern making job. Need to make a dome for this. There's a couple of ways I thought I'd do it, and I could just machine a flat piece with a boss on it out of a piece of solid and that'd look alright. I could also spin something up with a metal spin something up, which would look good too. The problem with that is that spinning anything thick enough to support a chimney on top, which is probably what it needs, is a bit of a big ask from my equipment. So originally that's how I kind of expected to or anticipated doing it, but I've looked around and we haven't got a lot of clearance here, so if I make something flat it needs to be a little bit higher perhaps than actual sitting down flat, because I need to screw the safety valve in there and then sit this over the top. So it really wants probably 12mm, half-inch clearance, something like that there. It needs to fit inside just to be a good push fit in there, and it needs space for a chimney, probably not anything that big. I'm thinking probably a piece of 5/8 copper. Just a short chimney on top. So let's have a look at a sketch. So once machined, it wants to fit in there like that, and it wants a nice curve on the top and another nice curve on there, with a flat boss on there where the safety valve hole goes. And probably it wants a step in there to push the chimney down against, and it wants to be sort of this shape. That's a pretty rough sketch. We know this diameter here, which is 2 7/8, and this diameter here, which needs to be a shade over 3 inches. This diameter here needs to be 5/8, so I'm guessing this probably wouldn't hurt to be probably 1 inch if we're going to go imperial all the way. This needs, from the top here, or where it sits, to where there's clearance here, that needs to be about 1/2 inch. And wall thickness is probably important, but somewhere between 1/4 inch and 3/8 is probably good. So that's what we're going to make. I think the best way probably to do this, and I've glued up some timber on the faceplate and the lathe. I'm going to sit in and machine this out here nicely and face it, and then we're going to turn it around and we're going to glue this on the faceplate, and we're going to machine the outside, and then we'll put that boss in afterwards. So that's what I think we're going to do. Let's get in and do it. So I glued this up last night so it's all nice and solid. Bit of paper underneath so that you don't get glue all over the bed. So I guess the first thing really will be to face it. I'm going to run a cut along there just to face it up. So I've taken the time to face that off and machine that down to where I think is about sort of where it needs to be. It's a fraction bigger than the boiler, but not a whole lot. Next job, I guess, is to bore this out to a dome in the middle, and I'm going to use a radius gauge and probably just a boring bar. If we get it down square, sort of 1/2 inch, and then put a radius in the corner and face the bottom off and clean it up, I think it'll be pretty nice. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I've given that, I've bored it out, and this has got a bit of taper on it, a fair bit actually, probably more than it needs. I think we're about 10 degrees there as far as draft angle, just to get to make sure that it does release properly out of the mould. This is nice and flat on top here, and I've machined this down to diameter. I'm probably going to mess around with this a bit more because I want this to release without dropping any sand in properly. So I can just feel a couple of little bumps and things there. A bit more filler in there maybe, and dry it again. Then I'm going to take this off, and I've drilled a 3mm or 2.5 or 3mm or something hole right through. And what I'm going to do is use that with the centre to line up the other end to glue it back on the faceplate. So that's the idea anyway, and we'll finish the top. So I'm going to spend another hour or so and just get all these little grooves and nooks and crannies smoothed out of there, and we'll try and pull him off. So I've got that pretty smooth inside. I really like that actually. I'm pretty impressed about that. It should release nicely. I did put this together with a piece of paper so I could actually pry this off nice. I'm not sure how I'm going to go with that. I've got a razor blade. And that's how that's done. That's come off there nicely. I'm going to give this a clean up. Just run a cut along the top. And I've got a hole in the centre, so I'm going to set that up and glue it again. And we'll have a look at probably machining the outside. And so we've set this up with a piece of paper again so I can get it off again. And just on the centre here, so it's nice and true. I might check that with a DTI while we're at it, just to get it somewhere near, not too much wobble. Give it a tap while it's still dry, still wet, and when it's dry we'll put the top in. So I've spent the rest of the afternoon on this and shaped up the outside to what I think it needs to be. I ended up putting a screw in here because I don't think it's going to stay tight. Just didn't trust the glue joint, and it's only 1/4 inch wide, 6mm wide. So this will need a bit of a sand up and a paint, and it's going to need a hole drilled in it and a piece made just as a standout. So that we know where to drill it to put the safety valve through. I'm sort of thinking this is nearly flat, so I'm probably not going to bother with that. I'm just going to mark it accordingly and drill a hole. Is probably going to be about 3/8 or 1/2 inch. And let's have a look over here at the boiler. So there we go. That's sort of what it's going to look like. It needs 3 or 4 layers of paint, and I guess next time we have a boiler up to date or a video you might see this finished. But that's the rough shape. That's how I achieved that. I'm going to fill this hole up. Probably I'll just put a piece of splinter of timber or something in there and jam it in, hammer it in, and with a bit of wood glue. And I'll give it about 10 coats of paint and sand it all back, get it all nice and smooth so it releases, and that should cast up pretty good. This will need a step on the outside to fit inside the boiler, so instead of being up there that high, it's probably only going to be on there about there, I guess. And it's going to need boring all the way through for the chimney, and it's going to need another hole to line up with this one so that our safety valve will clear. But that's looking pretty good. I'm pleased with that. Bit of messing around, just waiting for filler and for paint to dry and glue to dry, but starting to look alright. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and be kind to each other. Check out my Patreon, the link's down there. If you're interested in model steam engine builds, there's a bit going on there. There's another video up there. There's got a few in the series now. We're building the Kenneth Wells traction engine. We've got wheels and smoke box and stuff all finished. Boilers next. Anyway, more soon.